Abortion stigma is not only problematic because of the way it makes individuals feel about their experience, but because it makes it easier for anti-choice legislators to pass laws that restrict access to safe and legal abortion. If, as a society, we had more open conversations about real people's experiences with abortion, voters would be more skeptical about legislation, and anti-choice legislators would not be empowered to enact them. But without those conversations, the abortion stigma makes it easy for states to infringe on women's rights. Anti-choice legislators have filed over 250 bills restricting abortion in 41 states. This includes New York, Washington, Oregon, and Illinois, states that we typically think of as progressive pro-choice states. Nearly half of all of those bills are aimed at banning abortion in some or all circumstances. 6 states are down to just one abortion provider, meaning that women may have to drive over 300 miles just to get to a clinic, requiring her to have the money and the time available for the trip. And if the state also requires a waiting period, she may have to make that trip more than once. This effectively makes abortion unavailable to women in those states, especially women in rural communities and those living in poverty. In 1 year, between March 2018 and March 2019, there has been a 62.5% increase in the number of 6-week abortion bans introduced. These so-called heartbeat laws restrict abortion to 6 weeks after conception, which could be 2 weeks after a missed period before most women even know that they're pregnant. Texas even introduced a bill that would make abortion murder. It would modify the family code definition of a living human child to begin from the moment of fertilization with all rights, privileges, and powers of an infant. It subjects women, healthcare providers who provide abortion, and pharmacists who dispense medical abortion to potential criminal liability for murder. And just 2 days ago, on May 7, 2019, Governor Kemp in Georgia signed the most extreme abortion bill in the country. This bill subjects women to life imprisonment and even the death penalty for getting an abortion. It subjects women who have miscarried to potential second-degree murder following an investigation as to whether she caused the miscarriage, and even could put women who travel out of state to get an abortion or women who drive women out of state to get an abortion face up to 10 years in jail. Why are they doing this? Roe versus Wade has been the law of the land for 46 years. So why are they passing bills like this bill in Georgia that are absolutely unconstitutional? They know that these bills will be immediately challenged in the courts, costing states millions of dollars to defend the unconstitutional legislation and draining nonprofit dollars to challenge them. Abortion did not used to be a divisive partisan issue. In 1967, 6 years before Roe versus Wade, then California Governor Ronald Reagan signed the Therapeutic Abortion Act, which was the first step to decriminalizing abortion in California. As a young congressman, George H.W. Bush was a prime sponsor of the 1970 public health program that provided family planning services. And his enthusiasm about condoms earned him the nickname Rubbers. And just 2 years ago, in 2017, George W. Bush's daughter, Barbara, was the keynote speaker at a Planned Parenthood fundraiser in Texas. We know that 7 out of 10 people support access to safe and legal abortion. It should not be a polarizing issue. So why have anti-choice politicians done this? Why did they politicize abortion? Because it activates anti-choice voters to get to the polls. They wanted to pack the Supreme Court with anti-choice conservative justices, as many of them as possible, in order to overturn Roe versus Wade. And by preventing a vote on Merrick Garland's nomination for a record-breaking 293 days, they did exactly that. Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh were jammed through the Senate at record speed, despite concerns about their fitness to serve and serious allegations of misconduct. Their goal is to have Roe versus Wade overturned so those regulations go back to the states. And in addition to the 250 bills currently on file, there are troubling laws on the books predating the 1973 decision. As of May 1st, 2019, only 10 states have legislation that protects a woman's right to safe and legal abortion, including California. But Oregon is the only state in the country that protects a woman's right throughout the pregnancy with no time restrictions. 9 states still have their unenforced pre-Roe abortion bans on the book, and not all of these bans have any exceptions, even for rape, incest, or to save the mother's life. Finally, 6 states have trigger laws that would automatically ban abortion if Roe were overturned. Arkansas became the 5th state in February 2019, and Kentucky became the 6th in March 2019. Stigma is used to chip away at abortion rights. Opponents of safe and legal abortion pick the types of abortions or the stereotypes about women who get abortion that are the most stigmatized and restrict those first. In late April 2019, at a rally in Wisconsin, the President of the United States flagrantly misrepresented abortion by describing doctors killing a baby after birth. That is not based on medicine or reality, and he knows it. Shame on him. This is just part of the strategy of polarization that drives anti-choice voters to the polls. They also play into the stigma-related stereotypes to create so-called common sense regulations that make it harder for women to access safe and legal abortions. They employ 72-hour waiting periods and require multiple visits because of the stereotype that women who get pregnant are irresponsible. They legislate requirements for doctors to have hospital admitting privileges or for clinics to have extra wide hallways to feed into the narrative that abortion is dangerous. It's not dangerous. We don't need these things. They have nothing to do with healthcare or safe and legal abortions. Our role as advocates is to listen for the stigma behind these restrictions and provide a counter-narrative. If, as a society, we had more open conversations about people's experiences with abortion, voters would become more skeptical about restrictions. They would think, well, wait, but that would have meant my sister would have had to drive across state, take 2 days off of work just to get an abortion. Or my aunt couldn't have gone to her local pharmacy to get medication abortion after a miscarriage. Unless and until we change the conversation about abortion and reduce stigma, we will continue to fight these fights. Thank you.